Let us talk about Western media's coverage. Do you find it authentic or biased? How does Western media take the high pedestal from where it judges democracies like India? And how justified are its attacks on India, on its democratic government, democratic processes, and its democratically elected Prime Minister? Take a look at these headlines that have passed blanket statements on India. And these stories seem to suddenly increase in quantity when India prepares for elections. Is it a coincidence? Clearly not. And let me tell you, there are several reasons why portals like The Economist, The New York Times, The Washington Post fabricate stories to create noise. One reason is the limited presence of Western media in India. If you look at the circulation numbers in their home countries, you will see that there's been a massive dip. These countries do have a large population of Indian diaspora who are employed and some even running successful businesses. India, being one of the largest democracies, has been setting the benchmark for ensuring rights for sections of society that the West has recognized as recently as last year. A coordinated attack on this democracy would not only entice the readers, but also would help in increasing the falling circulation numbers. In the past decade, one person in particular has been constantly attacked, ever so blatantly: Prime Minister Modi. The overall lack of judgment by Western media, blissfully unaware or better no efforts made to learn the ground reality, puts many unethical small-time magazines famously known as yellow newspapers to shame. Look at this article in The Economist that asks the readers to vote for Rahul Gandhi over Narendra Modi to ensure democracy and secularism remains intact in India. To understand the seriousness of a foreign press trying to influence the electorate through anonymous sources, one has to simply reverse the situation, where an Indian media house asks the voters of a foreign nation to vote based on their claims, even if it means they disregard their top quotes. Another claim by foreign media is how the Indian government silences Indian media for negative reporting on the Prime Minister. It is another thing that these reports are at times so fabulously fictional that they could be made into a mini-series. And on the other hand, the same media houses report this on Prime Minister Modi. Now, if you are an avid neutral follower of Indian politics and you notice the reports by foreign press, you would be quick to notice the bias in reportage. These reports majorly comprise of two things: absence of facts and anonymous sources. The anonymous source has been featuring more than facts in reports by these media houses. In between the first and run-up to the second general elections, umpteen reports on how India's democracy and secular fabric has been impacted post-Prime Minister Modi coming into power has been the regular headlines. The ignorance of the foreign media press makes a bigger comeback by propping up the same issue that they reported earlier. Though there are thousands of cases of brazen state-sponsored violence against minorities in India's neighborhood, a fact that is supported by their dwindling population figures, these stories do not even register in their editorial. A reader always appreciates concern and accurate reportage of the condition of the minorities in that particular country. However, singling out the largest minority who has not only thrived but has equitable share in the running of the democracy isn't factual. India is home to even smaller minorities who are thriving with reforms. Over the years, budget allocations have only been increased for their welfare. Now, this bias in Western media reportage is blatant, and had it been an ethical editorial house, such news would be skipped. Even the rivers that are considered holy to millions of Hindus are made scapegoat to their propaganda pieces that they manufacture. The hatred towards India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has become predictable. So what if he has regularly emerged as a statesman with leading approval ratings amongst world leaders? This does not factor in. News for all it matters shouldn't be predictable, but when media houses subject themselves to propagating an agenda, it becomes predictable. Moving on to yet another reason for negative coverage by foreign media. to orchestrate a regime change in India. The biggest agent of regime change is billionaire and so-called philanthropist George Soros, who is facing serious allegations of interfering in other nations' sovereignty. He has cultivated a class of intellectuals through NGOs and media who work resolutely towards opposing the Indian state, especially the government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Soros and his Open Society foundations has been branded as agents of chaos by governments and rival groups and alleged with charges of ousting Russian President Vladimir Putin to destabilize the European Union through mass migration to backing Arab Spring protest groups. In a speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland in 2020, Soros pledged $1 billion to fund a new university to tackle the spread of nationalism. In 1995, Soros contributed the initial seed fund to set up the Media Development Investment Fund. The objective of the fund was to invest in independent media in challenging countries with a history of media oppression. Currently, the Indian beneficiaries listed on the MDIF are the far-left website Scroll and another website named Gram Bani. Besides, the Open Society Foundation also funds the International Committee of Investigative Journalists or ICIJ, an international organization with journalists affiliates worldwide, including India. So you see, sensational investigative pieces and exposés that may not really have any authenticity are pushed to create fear. Besides this, there are many other reasons like racism, a visible fear of a rising power, vengeance for defiance, for not towing their line, for being neutral and choosing for itself, for challenging their hegemony, for calling out their doublespeak, and more. General elections in India are due next year, and as you have already seen, opinion pieces have started flooding in. And as time passes, you will see a rise in baseless opinion pieces with anonymous sources. If only there were audit houses on media reporting to ensure factual reporting existed, then foreign media editorials would take a big blow to their ratings. How did you like this episode? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, this is Richa Dwivedi signing off. Dhanyavad and Namaste.